So I hope you enjoy the social engineering short video. It is quite amazing, and but it's actually quite real. Often we don't think about that, and but it's actually I wouldn't say quite easy to do. I mean, those person probably have a lot of practice, uh, but I think the point we're trying to make is that social engineering is actually real and it's effective and it works uh, for whoever the bad guy is and the criminal is. So if you look at this pie chart, um, it is considered as the most dangerous social engineering threat to the organization. If you look at them, um, the lack of employee awareness is actually 56%. Okay, phishing is 21%, criminal 12%, vishing is 5%. But lack of awareness, meaning the people not aware of people actually using social engineering to try to gain information about you, your finance, your company, and whatnot. That's a big deal. Okay, and the video talk about vishing, right? And voice phishing or phishing by phone, and phishing is initiated by the caller. Okay, don't give out personal information when you respond to any incoming call. As a practice, when you get a call out of a call, you don't know the person, you don't know the number, even though you know the number, and then you try to figure it out. Is this you try to be? I think what I'm trying to say is you try to be suspicious, and you try to think that whether this is actually legitimate, right? And then if in doubt, you verify. You ask them for their employee ID or some sort of a proof that they're from there or a number that you can call them back. Once you get their number, then they'll be afraid, right? If they're the bad guy, they're afraid to give you the real number. And then if not, then you report them. There's a YouTube video. I'm not going to click here, so you get this video. So I encourage you to watch them at your time, and try to appreciate that and understand that a little bit. Okay, so the tactic of the bad guys, which some of you may have heard through the media or TV or something like that. So usually they do the initiation. They will initiate and come to you. Sometimes they offer you something for nothing, like I told you, no free lunch. But they do try to entice you by offering you something for nothing, right? And then they also want to communicate an urgency. You remember in the video, the lady was trying to use a baby crying, and also the urgency that the husband want her to get that done right away, and they are the bank accomplishing the loan and so on. So there's a bit of an urgency. Sometimes they use fear. I get calls from people that are pretending they are from the CIA, and then they'll say that you have to. It's not even a real call; it's a robo call. So it's like computer voice, and they'll say, "Oh, if you don't give them the information, they'll get the law enforcement to arrest you or something like that." It's very dramatic. Authority, so they will usually use that whether they're the police, they are the taxman or something like that, and then they would request for information. Okay, this diagram has a lot of stuff there, but if you read them carefully, you'll get a few points across. So if you look at the first one on the left is what are social engineering. So social engineers and fraudsters, calling them engineer is actually, I think it's too elevated for them. I mean, they're just fraudsters. They're the people that just want to commit fraud. So they want to manipulate employees into revealing information, usually over the phone. They can use this information for identity theft or access system. So that's one piece. And the centerpiece here is what information do they ask for usually? Sometimes the information fraudster asks for can seem trivial. For example, employee name, title, and their department. Okay? Sounds trivial. It looks to you that it's public information. Anybody come through the door office would know, or we look at company directory. But they can use that in a future call to try to pretend to be somebody else, or at least not to call you, but to call somebody else and using your name as a leverage. So they can use this information in social media sites, or also they can care for what you review online. So I told you about that. People review who they report to or who are their peer, and so if people follow you and be able to see a lot more information than you think they would know. Okay. And then the last box here is what do you need to do. So your response would be, when you receive a phone call, make sure that the caller is who they say they are, and that they are entitled to the information they are asking for before you disclose the information. So I think that's a good suggestion, meaning that you want to make sure that, okay, so this person is asking me for this information. Does this person actually entitled to? So let's continue. If we encounter those situations about phishing that we talked about, there is some avenues that we can report them. In Canada, there is a Canadian Anti-Fraud Center that are open for anyone, company or individuals, to share with them any fraudulent activities through cyberspace, and in this case phishing and whatnot. So I'm not sure how much action they can take, but I think they can definitely help to perhaps categorize the phishing and do some investigation and develop a report and inform the appropriate involved parties. And there is also a suggestion that if you receive a call from, say, the CRA, tax department, Metro Police, or whatever organization that person claimed to be, it is recommended that we actually contact that organization and let them know, I received a call, an email that have an individual claiming that they work for you, and this is the content of what that person is trying to fool me and trying to get information from me and whatnot. This will help them perhaps from a communication point of view, make an announcement that this is not them, so it will further perhaps alert Canadians that may not have received a call, but your information may help the organization to combat those type of phishing activities. If you have received one of these suspicious email and you have actually provided your personal information, without knowing that it's a fraud, but you only knew about it afterwards, these are some steps that you can follow. You can contact your bank, your financial institution, or credit card company if you have provided banking information, financial information, so that they can maybe make suggestions to you, make a record of that. I think the important thing is they might not be able to do anything or do any investigation, I'm not sure, but at least you documented it. That way, when further down the line that actually happens, somebody actually trying to impersonate you, then I think you actually have a strong case that you already informed them, so they cannot say that they don't know, or it's your responsibility. So that's a good thing. It's kind of like, so you already said it, right? So there's a record of you reporting what you already realized. Also contact your credit bureau if there is credit card, all that kind of stuff, so at least if they try to impersonate you to get a loan or get a credit card, you get an alert. Okay, so you can set it up with Equifax or TransUnion, and you can contact the local police. At least again, you wanted to state on the record, have them know that I have reported it. I have been, someone has called me or emailed me, and I have unknowingly provided my personal information or financial information. I want you to, so down the road again, when something happened, then you already had a documented step that anything happened after this point is not me. Okay, always report phishing. If you have responded to one of these suspicious email, also reported them to Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. The other threat that I wanted to mention, and I think I did mention about it, is social media. Nowadays, I think there's nobody that is not on any social media platform. As you can see here, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, etc., 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 right? Now, it is a known fact that the bad guys often browse through social media for a purpose. They want to gather information about you, about your company, about the people that you work with. These are all information that would be helpful to them to either impersonate you or either to try to talk to some of you with the information to impersonate someone that supposedly know your group or your company, right? So apart from divulging when you're going on vacation, when are you away from work or from home and so on, I mean, information about who is your boss, who's get promoted, who you work with, and sometimes you even share photos of your, outing or lunch or something. So, the bad guys, if the bad guy want to impersonate someone that is part of your group, they actually know who to look for. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, the social media is kind of like a gold mine for these bad people. I mean, the information about you, about what you do, about what you like, about what you do and what you don't like, it's all out there. I mean, they can just, walk through, sometimes, it's even linked, right? I mean, I'm aware of people that are on Instagram have their YouTube account linked and Facebook, etc., etc. So once you get one, you get everybody. I mean, they don't even have to log in as you. They just look at your pages. I mean, I think more and more people are aware and making their pages private, but there are so many people out there that think that they have an audience out there, and of course they don't want to disappoint anyone, so they make it public. So anyone that may not be, part of your in groups, still be able to know your life, what you like, what you do, and so on. So the bottom line is that you should beware of what you post on social media. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. It's just that keep in mind that the information you post on your social media can be very useful information for the criminals to try to impersonate you or your friend and make use of social engineering, okay, as you saw the video earlier, right? And Instagram, it's another one. Instagram, it's all about pictures, right? So people can look at the pictures and video too, and learn a lot more about where you work, where you live, who you're with, what your hobbies or likings, and where you go for food or something like that. It's just amazing that people can, people now are using social media to kind of open up their life to everybody. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I'm just looking at it from a security point of view that it become very vulnerable. Okay, passwords. We all know about password. Password has been around for ages. Ever since we first get computers, we always have a username and a password. So I had a few tips here that you may or may not already aware. The password is not so much about complexity. It's more about length. So the longer the password is actually more effective from a perspective of preventing people guessing the right password as compared to the password being complicated, uppercase, lowercase, mix a number with special characters and so on. But instead of having 6 or 8 character, make it 12, 15, 18 even. But the challenge, of course, is to remember it. So one of the good tool is to create a passphrase, not password but passphrase. So if you like the movie Back to the Future, then you can say BACKTOFUTURE. It is long, but it's easier to remember because it's something that you can remember. Back to the Future or any other song name or even just a phrase of I love sushi, something like that, or I love sushi on Friday. I love sushi is too short, right? I love sushi on Friday, something like that. So it's long enough, but then you remember too, right? The other more practical method is password manager. Nowadays we manage password multiple places, websites, tools, applications, and whatnot. So if we have a password manager do the work for us, that would be great, right? So the password manager even can generate password for you. They will keep track of the password you enter in associate with a link. So the link can be a web page, can be an application, right? Do not reuse passwords. The password that you have used two round before. Oftentimes, I think in Windows they are not allowing you to use the last six password or something like that. But as a rule that they can change. So some people just wanted to have three passwords. They keep using that, and some website or some systems do not allow it to be reused. Do not share your password with anyone for whatever reason. Password is your most private and sensitive information. Um, and also the example here, as you can see in this diagram, these are actual passwords that people use. So the last one that I saw is do not use passwords that are like that. Um, the first one is Ashley Medicine, which was a website that breached 2015. You know what that website does, right? It actually helped married people to cheat. Um, and But as you can see, there are over 120,000 users on these websites that use password 12345 6. How stupid it is, okay? And in LinkedIn, all right, LinkedIn it's kind of a business-like app that we all use to connect with and networking with people that are at work. Um, and again, over 750,000 users use 12345 6. It's unbelievable. You think that this is probably not happen this day and age, but there is. This is 2012. Okay, so keep that in mind and don't do what they do. The other thing is working outside of the office. More and more people are actually either working from home or working outside of the office. So what that means is that you have a much more larger chance of losing sensitive informations that you've taken from the office. Um, Often we would take sensitive business information, proprietary information, maybe even customer information outside the office, make photocopies and whatnot. I'm not saying that you should not work outside of the office. Oftentimes that's required. That's part of your job. At one time, I was traveling very heavily on the work that I do many years ago, and then I would carry tons of stuff through the airport and on public areas. So so often people are rushing through the airport from one terminal to another to catch a flight, or you might be relaxing, having a drink in a restaurant or a coffee shop and then reading some sensitive material, but all of a sudden they announce changing gate or something like that. Then you think, oh, not enough time for me to go to the terminal, so you quickly go and then left something behind. I mean, it's not unusual. I mean, not even in the airport. I mean, you go out having a coffee with a colleague and then your folder fell, and just there are so many uh, situations that sensitive information from the office would get lost outside of the office. So do keep track of what information you have taken away from the office. So when you realize that you have lost some information, so at least that those information may need to be changed at the office. Uh, Obviously, don't leave any information, computers unattended, possibly being accessible by others. Use a privacy screen when you're working in public, especially when you're dealing with sensitive information, both as an individual or as an employee as well. I mean, sometimes the plan contain sensitive information that you don't want, some other people actually look over your shoulder and be able to find out what you do, and so on. Also, never send any company information to your personal email. Okay, company servers have firewalls and protection on the perimeters, but our ISP, Internet Service Provider, even Rogers or Bell, they don't usually protect your email messages. And also, I don't know whether you know this, people has been using this example, is that when you are sending an email out through the internet, it's like sending a postcard. Remember postcards? We don't use that any longer. But postcards are things you can write, put an address, you throw in the mail, but whoever picking it up, the postman or people sorting the mail, anybody can see the content. So that it's wide open. Emails are kind of like that. I mean, the email we compose, we send it, it's like a plain text file. It's not encrypted. So you send through from one hub to another server, and then maybe hub many other servers before you reach the destination. So along the way, any of those email servers, people hacked in, they can look at people's email messages because they're not encrypted. And if they kind of eavesdrop on the communication line, they can pick up the informations that are unencrypted, may be useful for them as well. So malware, let's talk about malware. Malware actually stands for malicious software. So these are bad stuff. So these are actually programs, small programs, or maybe not even very small. They are designed to do bad things. They're designed to infiltrate your computer, or they're designed to damage your computer. Damage in a way that may delete some file, or corrupt some of your operating system. Just kind of create trouble for you. And so generally speaking, malware is a threat. They have different type of threat, and often we may heard of it as viruses, spyware, worms, Trojan, rootkit, and so on. So we're going to look at each one of them in a slightly more detail. So computer viruses, similar to human viruses, it is contagious. It can spread from one computer to another. It's basically also a program, and it will cause you maybe some, in the low end, a mild annoyance. So it can maybe froze your screen and maybe display something, I got you, or something like that. But most often than not, it's tracking you down. They're just running stuff using your processing power, slow down your computer, and stuff like that. They're just doing stupid stuff at the back end, and just slowing you down. Okay, viruses, however, need to be executed. So it will attach to an executable file. So you might download something that are legitimate, like a program that you want to execute. But as part of that the program, that's they might do what you intended to do, like maybe how should I put it? Create a graphic program, like they create an image or something like that. But at the end of it, it actually started to propagate and to other computers. I mean, as part of the program. So the 99% of the program is good, but then they put a little bit at the very end to do stuff that they want. So that usually means do not download any software from location or servers or company websites that you don't know. Okay, you're not familiar with. Worms are similar to viruses. They are one class of viruses. It doesn't need people to execute them. It will spread. Oftentimes, it will actually use some existing program to do the harm. So usually, this is a common one, is that you receive email from friends of yours, but very weird, right? So weird content. So what that is actually, the worm is actually getting use the email program of your computer and start sending out email to all of the people on your contact, okay, without you knowing, obviously, okay. So it will slow your system down. It will replicate itself and just create serious problems. You almost have to delete them, or maybe restore from backup and so on. Trojan horses. I don't know whether you remember, there's a story that talked about the Trojan horse back in the Roman days, I think, or Middle Ages, that they were you know, maybe countries fighting each other, and so one very smart general designed a horse that are kind of like 2 story, 3 story high, that they can actually hide people inside this wooden horse. It's like a horse with wheel, right? So they pull this horse with all their armies stationed inside, pull the horse near the enemy's castle or whatever. So the enemy come out and say, oh, how come there's so interesting sculpture or whatever. So the king wants to take a closer look, so they pull the horse inside their castle, okay, and then trying to appreciate the beautiful horse. And at night when they all slept, all these all these army will come out from the inside of the Trojan horse and give a signal to their counterpart outside, so they kill all the enemies from both inside and outside. So Trojan horse is like that. It looks like a genuine application that you download, but it actually does things that will actually destroy your computer, slow down your computer, steal your information and send it to the bad guys, and so on. Okay. This is just a distribution of the type of malware commonly found on companies. The the thing you want to take away is that Trojan horse is the biggest. 71% of the viruses, the malware, are Trojan horse. Okay, because the bad guys wanted you to believe, you know, this is a legitimate application, so you download them. So, but when you run them, they actually doing bad things behind your back without you knowing. Okay. So let's take a break from the technology. I want to talk a little bit about dumpster diving. It is true that some criminals resort to looking into people's garbage. Okay, you know what they can find? They can find very valuable, personally identifiable information in most trash, easily. I don't know about you, but a lot of people unbelievably just throw away very, important information, like a credit card statement. Okay, so this guy paid it, and they say, okay, I don't have no use. I don't want to, keep all these paper around, so they throw them away. Old credit card, they don't even cut it in half. They just throw it away because it's expired. They think nobody can use it anyway. Throw it away. Bank statements. Okay, so all these things are very valuable to the criminals because they can create a false identity based on whatever information they can find in your trash. So it is true. Okay, it is true. So buy a shredder and shred all your bank statements, credit card statement, destroy your credit card into pieces before you throw them away. Okay. Okay, so let's change subject to a little bit on a corporate side. We want to talk about mobile security. Okay, this applies to some levels to individual as well, but this is a particularly crucial challenge for enterprise IT. If you work for IT, you know what I'm talking about. In the past, when we have no mobile devices, everybody has a desktop computer, so everything is locked down. Everything is physically locked down and also logically locked down, because the IT can decide how to customize your operating system. Okay. Now with more and more mobile devices, tablets, and laptops, notebooks, there are so many different combinations of these devices being used both inside and outside of the company. Okay, so corporate enterprise IT department has much less control over these devices and these applications, and so make their job very, very difficult. I'll explain a little bit more about that. Mobile security is also sometimes known as the wireless security. So the first challenge is to secure mobile devices. company used to issue, phones for employees, mobile devices such as the popular Blackberries, even less than 10 years ago. So most management executives will carry a Blackberry. You can see them, right? On the train, on the bus, and they'll do their emails and so on. Um, but some of the challenges that those devices can be misplaced, can be stolen. So this is the lowest of all the security problem for mobile devices, is that it will be very hard for the company to control and protect these devices. So these devices, once being used, can be floating around outside and lost or being stolen even. Um, so that's one thing. Another challenge is that more and more these devices are actually necessary, because companies are developing mobile applications that they can download on their mobile devices to actually use it for company purposes. I give you a very good example. Enercare, which is a utility company that will come and service your air conditioning, your furnace, your water heaters, and whatnot. And those technicians, before that, the sales will come to your house and take a look at what service you need, and then they actually capture the order through the iPad, and you can sign off on it, and off they go. They'll send it back to the office and schedule people to come to your house and do the actual servicing of the air conditioning or furnace or whatnot, right? In the past, they have the clipboard, they write it down, and they go back to the office, they punch in and so on. They don't have to do it any longer. They can actually do it right in front of you. So that's taking a sales order. A lot of companies are doing that. When the technician come out to service you, they can also do the work, and then using that to capture what they have done and how much it will cost you, and right away you get an invoice from the iPad, sending back to the main office, do the accounting stuff and send it to you. So all these are realities right now, and it's being used, and it's very, very legitimate. It's actually very, very efficient as well. But the challenge becomes when one of those devices are lost, it's more than just money. It's more than just a replacement value. It's about the information that are stored on the devices. The people get access to the actual application and can maybe use that and launch an attack to the server and so on. So there's a lot more scenarios that the IT department cannot foresee, and because of these devices are walking around outside of the company's protected zone, it can well be also become vulnerable for the company. Okay, there's another level of challenge. It's called IT consumerization. Okay, nowadays the younger generation, they all have all these mobile devices of their own, and they actually push all these companies by saying that why don't I actually get emails on my mobile devices? I don't want to use your BlackBerry. So on one hand, the company is happy because they're saving money. But on the other hand, for enterprise IT, this become a challenge because there's so many employees using their own devices that corporate IT have no control over in setting it up. So you may have company information on your mobile device, but you also download apps that are dangerous. So company information can be stolen through some of these bad apps that you download. So you open up again capability for the bad guys to to get maybe to steal information from the mobile devices. So it's very challenging from a security point of view on the device, physical device itself, and also the usage of the device and the variation of the devices. So this is called IT consumerization. These mobile devices become a consumer product, and it will be very difficult for the enterprise IT department to have any control over these devices. IT consumerization in the past was being referred to as the BYOD, bring your own devices. But I think now it's beyond that. I mean, consumerization is that there is no control over a lot of these aspects, and it's almost like something that the company has to live with, and it opened up a lot of risk. So these are the top mobile security concerns. If you're working in a corporate environment in IT, apart from losing the devices of the cost and but also the information stored on the devices. So you had a iPad issued by the company and you use it for application. Yeah, you have a lot of information on it. So when you lose an iPad, you're not just the cost of the iPad of $1,000 or something like that, but also the valuable information, customer information that you have. Application security. So we're talking about people download a company mobile applications and do work on the mobile applications, whether that mobile application is secure, whether people can actually hack through those applications. Device data leakage. So we're talking about the device that corporate IT have no control over, but there are multiple applications. Some are good applications, some are bad. So the application can actually maybe steal information from the legitimate company applications. And also leakage also can be described as you have all these company informations here. You may be able to take a picture of a very sensitive design, and then that picture sent to somebody else. That's leakage. That's data leakage. And mobile devices are also vulnerable for malware attacks. So more and more viruses and malwares are developed for mobile devices. Okay, and device theft. So there are people that just steal your devices. I mean, not so much for the value of the devices, that too, but for the information that you store them. So laptop, for example, in airport, it's actually quite popular that notebooks and laptops get stolen in airports. Very common. So all these are security concerns, both physical and over the cyberspace. Okay. I just want to talk a little bit about other enterprise level threats that you may or may not aware, apart from mobile security. Okay, and all the stuff that we talked about whole day, like today, like viruses, malware, and so on. I think I talked a little bit about cloud earlier this lesson. Cloud security. So we already talked about Amazon cloud have this vulnerability that people can access informations and so on, but there are also, because cloud is a shared area, multiple companies can actually share and put their data on the same infrastructure. Who's going to guarantee that there's no accidental mapping of the database, that one company accessing somebody else's data? So this is a very top of the list security issue for cloud. But cloud is here to stay because it's more economical for a lot of companies. They can actually have a much smaller IT team because the cloud will take care of all the infrastructures for them. So it's a big saving, but it introduced security problems too, right? The other one, I don't know whether you know about this GDPR. It stands for General Data Protection Regulation. Okay, it is a European EU privacy legislation, a new one. Okay, it was put into effect 2018 May, and so what that does is it create a lot of rules for companies that has to do business with the EU, and that's a security challenge as well for the security people, because now they have to do a lot more, and on one hand it's to protect, but and on the other hand, because you're modifying your application to cater for the law, that you might be opening up more risk and vulnerability. Another thing you might heard of it is called big data. Big data is basically, nowadays we collect everything under the sun for analytical reasoning, to try to find out what my customers actually like and not like, so you can target them more precisely. But because of big data, you got data everywhere. Some area that store this data, they don't actually get everything into a server. So you might rely on data that are over here in a third party's database. You might extract data from another vendors over here, and those data can be related and can be linked and can also be very valuable, but you have no control over some of the third parties. So big data become a security challenge for enterprises that had their sensitive information being linked but not stored under their physical control. Okay. The last is called IoT. It stands for Internet of Things. You may or may not heard of these. This is a big thing now. Internet of Things are beyond just computers or mobile devices. These are things kind of like, internet-ready refrigerators. You can also have your doorbell linked to the internet. Definitely, these, the monitors, cameras for your baby. Those are on the web as well. So all these things are called Internet of Things. They're all internet with one another. Security cameras in your home. When somebody at the door, they ring your bell, even though you're not at home, even though you're on holiday, you can quickly from your app get a notice. You click the app, you can see who is at your door. How can you do that? Because they are all on the internet. They're all linked to the internet. You can see them because your camera at home is linked to the internet, and then it comes to your phone. Well, on one hand, this is beautiful. It's interconnected around the world, no matter you are. But all these devices, the cameras, the refrigerators, the microwave or whatnot, those devices was not created like a computer. They were created to do something like a computer, but from a security point of view, these devices are not secure. Okay? So, in a sense that the bad guys can actually hack into your cameras, and be able to control your refrigerator, your microwave, your car. You know that your car can be on the internet, and so Internet of Things is a real threat. Okay, it's not a science fiction any longer. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about that. I mean, just enough for you can look it up. Okay, this is actually one of the things that I want you to do in the assignment, in the second assignment. I'll let you to choose one of these subjects and do some research and learn what are some of the security threats of some of these, these forefront security items. These things are here already. I'm not talking about the future. These are all things that we are dealing with right now from a corporate point of view. Okay, so what can you do to make a difference? All right, there are several things that you can do. You can nurture, like you can, you together with your group, your company, you can cultivate a security culture in your organization. As part of the team, you want to respect security, you want to follow the rules, you want to make suggestions to make it better. You want to educate yourself. Okay, coming to these classes is good for you. So you educate yourself and others about, what are the tactics out there that the bad guys is trying to steal your information, so you can protect the information and you can prevent it, right? You can protect your account, your devices with security practice. Okay, choose the right password, protect them with all the devices with a passcode, and then keep your devices physically close to you all the time. Do a find your iPhone thing, set it all up, and so on, right? And verify. So if you are in doubt, someone is asking you for information, you ask them again, you verify, you ask for ID. So these are the kind of the mindset that you have to have in order to make a difference, either individually or among your company. Okay, so the last little bit is I want to talk a couple of slides, talk about what is coming. Okay, I mean, these are experts out there that talk about, okay, what is the upcoming trend in cybersecurity. Okay, you will see more and more phishing attacks. Okay, phishing attack is not going to reduce, it only increases, because that's kind of the easiest way. They'll make it more sophisticated. They will make it harder for people to really notice. Remember, I talked about, they have bad English, bad grammar or something like that, so you can tell right away. They can modify that. They can make it better. They will make it more believable, and so that you can provide your information to them. Not only that, the bad guys will steal information from the company, they can do a step further. they can actually hack in. Instead of copying out, they can actually try to modify what you have by manipulating the data to achieve their goal. So in terms of changing an expiration date of a particular product, for example, and there are all sorts of things you can, once you start manipulating the data. Remember the security triad. There's confidentiality, there's also integrity. Once you are compromising the integrity of the data in your company, then you can't trust anything, right? So you can't trust the report that they come out because the data are no longer reliable. So that's actually quite a significant prediction. I mean, a significant step if the bad guys wanted to actually get to that point. Okay, good news for us is that the demand for information security, professional information security skill, it's going to increase because more and more people learning that cybersecurity is real, it's here to stay, and they realize that, oh, we don't have enough people that have the knowledge, so they're going to hire more. So you are right by taking courses like this, because you need to arm yourself with the knowledge. Whether you want to be an information security professional or not, it doesn't matter. But learning more will help you to get better jobs for sure. Okay, you get certified. You get more experience. You will get a better job. You get the higher rate. You get the higher salary, and so on. I'm not kidding you. It's true. I mean, traditional IT job doesn't really pay that much as compared to security jobs, because it's all supply and demand, right? When they are harder to find a security guy, they want to raise the salary so that they can get someone from another company, right? And attackers will continue to target consumer devices. You remember I talked about consumerization. So not just corporate devices, but also personal devices. Attackers will become more bold and more commercial, less traceable. Okay, so attackers are becoming more focused into getting financial rewards, and they become more knowledgeable, more skillful, that it will be harder to detect. Okay, data breaches are getting, so similarly, the attacker will make the data breaches more complicated and much harder to prevent. Okay, and so another thing that will come up, a new business, is that cyber risk insurance will become more common. Insurance company started to come up with new products that company can buy for cyber risk insurance. But one of the things that I can assure you is that when the insurance company wanted to sell cyber risk insurance to a company, they will have demand for them to do. It's just like when you sell life insurance for for individuals. They will say that they'll ask you whether it's a practice for you to do dangerous activities, you drive fast cars and so on. If you do all that, the risk is higher, so they'll charge you more for the premium. So same thing, the cyber risk insurance company will question this company and ask them whether you have security policy, whether you do security awareness training for your employee. So they'll try to ask questions to kind of evaluate whether your company practice security, whether you will be higher risk or lower risk. So if you don't have any of the things that I just talked about, you will have to pay a much higher premium. So again, company will hire security people to make sure they do all those things so that they can buy a cheaper, lower cost cyber risk insurance. Again, another higher demand for information security professionals. Okay, another one. More ransomware. I didn't talk about ransomware particularly today, but you probably heard of it on the media. Ransomware is kind of like a malware, but what they do is that they hijack you, they lock down your computer, you can't use it, then they'll ask you to pay a certain money, and then they'll give you a code to unlock them, so that's called ransomware. They ask the company for money so that they can pay the money and continue to operate. That's actually getting common, and more will become, because it's so easy for them to do. Instead of stealing money, they just lock your computer off and lock your main server, then you have to pay them money. I mean, you know, and company did pay. I mean, a lot of them don't tell the media, of course. I talked about these already. Nation state or state sponsored attack. More and more these attacks will be paid and sponsored by countries. What that means is that they have more resources, more money, so the attack can be much more sophisticated and much more larger scale, right? And the attack will not be simply steal information. They want to cripple the infrastructure. I don't know whether you remember. This is, I think, was it 2013 or 2003? I don't remember. I think probably 2003. I think there was a major East Coast power outage almost 10 years ago. Yeah, 2013, I think, 15 maybe. And so more and more the power grid is now on the net. So what that means is that if someone wanted to hold the country for ransom, they will try to attack their infrastructure. No electricity, no traffic light, you know, and no water or contaminated water. They will pay, right? Also, another thing that is the malware can be encrypted now. Okay, encrypted traffic malware. So when the malware are being, so right now we have antivirus software to scan, you know, things that travel through the network or store on the devices. If they scan that this is actually a bad program, then they will block it, right? But if that program code is encrypted, the scanning may not work. So it will make the malware much harder to detect. Okay? Another thing is called AI assisted imposter. Okay? It's really sci-fi now. AI stands for artificial intelligence. AI is not science fiction any longer. Many companies are using AI to do different things, to do research, to do business process improvement, and so on. So AI is not like robot, you know, and things like that. And AI is actually computer code that actually can learn and improve, learn and do, and then feedback and so on. What this one does is that application of artificial intelligence in order for that robot to impose as a legitimate individual or legitimate user. Okay, it is interesting. Okay, we won't talk about it too much this time, this course, but you can do research on that, and this is one of the subjects that you can choose to do research in the second assignment. Okay, last but not least, cybersecurity and Internet of Things. I already talked about that, what Internet of Things are and what are the security threat of Internet of Things, and this will become a real thing that affect many companies, because companies are also start using you know, Internet of Things in the car, you know, in the cameras, in the monitoring of temperatures, and a lot of the monitoring devices are on the net for sure. So that becomes something that would be of interest to the company. So come to the last one, the tip of the day. Okay, I put down here is that to develop a suspicious mindset. It's like don't trust anyone easily. Okay, have assumption that the intention may be bad. So you get an email, you get a phone call, you get something that's for free on a website. You see something that's for free. It's just when something is too good to be true, usually it is not true. So things like do not open any email, do not click any links from people that you don't know. So if you receive something from sender that you don't know, be suspicious. Okay, when it sounds too good to be true, I think it's usually is. There's no free lunch. I talked about that already. You always have something in the bed. You always have something that the bad guy wants. If nothing else, it's your identity, your information that they want. Okay, so that's concluding today's lesson, and thank you for participating. So now you should go to Blackboard to take your quiz and complete the session. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for participating.